What Trump knows is that the only path for Republicans to hold onto the House in the midterms is to change the rules in the middle of the game. That is why in Texas and in other red states, Republican legislators are preparing to redraw their congressional maps so that Republican politicians get to choose their voters. Again, Republican politicians get to choose their voters instead of letting voters choose their representative. They want to silence the voices of Latino voters, Black voters, API voters, and LGBTQ voters. Trump wants to change the rules of the game in the fifth inning so that Republicans get 4 strikes while Democrats get 3. Their goal is simple: to rig congressional maps in Republican states across our country to make it impossible for Democrats to retake control of the House of Representatives in 2026.
Welcome back to Right View Nation. If you love America, if you stand for freedom, and if you're sick and tired of the left trying to rig the system, then hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, drop a comment down below, and make sure to share this video with every patriot you know. Let's get this message out loud and clear, because the mainstream media sure won't.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee members, for the opportunity to present Senate Bill 280 today, which calls for a statewide special election on November 4th of this year. The special election would allow California voters to consider an Assembly Constitutional Amendment, ACA 8, which would allow this legislature to engage in a one-time, mid-decade redistricting of our state's districts in the U.S. House of Representatives. The Citizens Redistricting Commission would then be able to engage in its regularly scheduled program, independent redistricting process after the 2030 census. SB 280 also appropriates the funding necessary for the Secretary of State and for our county registrars to administer the special election. The bill also makes the necessary statutory changes to allow the June 2026 statewide primary election to be held on time. California did not start this fight. This fight came to us. We are here because President Trump and Republicans in Congress know that their agenda is deeply unpopular, and they see the writing on the wall. They know that the mass deportation regime that uses secret police to kidnap people off our streets and into unmarked vans goes against our American values. They know that voters will hold them accountable for the spending cuts they jammed through Congress that strip health care away from millions of Americans. And they know that giving tax cuts to billionaires while Trump imposes tariff taxes on essential goods such as coffee and bananas will continue to raise the cost of living for everyday working families. What Trump knows is that the only path for Republicans to hold onto the House in the midterms is to change the rules in the middle of the game. That is why in Texas and in other red states, Republican legislators are preparing to redraw their congressional maps so that Republican politicians get to choose their voters. Again, Republican politicians get to choose their voters instead of letting voters choose their representative. They want to silence the voices of Latino voters, Black voters, API voters, and LGBTQ voters. Trump wants to change the rules of the game in the fifth inning so that Republicans get 4 strikes while Democrats get 3. Their goal is simple: to rig congressional maps in Republican states across our country to make it impossible for Democrats to retake control of the House of Representatives in 2026. California cannot stand by while Donald Trump dismantles our democracy piece by piece. We will not let him determine the outcome of future elections years in advance before any vote is cast to prop up his authoritarian presidency. And if you doubt that Trump is trying to become a dictator, remember that he sent armed federal agents to harass the peaceful press conference that took place last week in LA with Governor Newsom. The truth of the matter is, if we let Donald Trump get away with this rigging of elections through gerrymandering, partisan gerrymandering, we may not have free or fair elections in the United States in the future. If Donald Trump pursues this partisan power grab, then California is ready to respond. Our plan will only go into effect if Texas and other states move to redraw their lines. Again, our plan will only go into effect if Texas and other red states move to redraw their lines. Trump can do the right thing today and stand down and not move forward in redrawing congressional maps in Republican states. And California's current districts will remain in place. Ultimately, this is our preferred outcome because we do value the California's Independent Redistricting Commission, which is the gold standard of our country. And this crisis shows that we need to enact a nationwide citizens nonpartisan commission. If every state followed California's lead and adopted these independent redistricting commissions, or if Congress required this, we wouldn't be in this crisis to begin with. Gerrymandering would be a thing of the past. Finally, I want to address Republican members of Congress from California. You have the power to stop this from happening. The power is in your hands. I appeal to your better angles, but if you refuse to listen to those angles, I will rely on your ambition, your self-interest, and your desire to keep your House seats and your paycheck. You can ask President Trump to end this now. You can tell him to call off these partisan gerrymandering in Texas and other states. But if Trump decides to move forward with his plan to steal Democratic seats, then California will be the firewall. We have defeated authoritarianism before, and we will defeat it again, but at the ballot box, with the voters in the state of California making the ultimate decision on November 4th, 2025. Today, we have two witnesses testifying in support. I'll allow them to self-identify.
And you each have 3 minutes.
All right, folks, what we just heard is another shining example of how the radical left in California is trying to twist the rules of the game to protect their power. They're dressing it up in fancy words like protecting democracy. But let's be honest, this isn't about democracy. It's about control. It's about Democrats moving the goalposts mid-game because they're terrified of losing their grip on power. They want a special election to allow mid-decade redistricting. Why? Because they know 2026 is coming, and their policies have failed so miserably that the American people are turning away from them in droves. So what's their solution? Not to fix the problems they created, not to make life better for working families. No, it's to redraw the map so they can cling to power. And did you notice the fear-mongering? They're dragging out the same tired playbook. Blame Trump, blame Republicans, spin a story about authoritarianism, throw around scary words like dictator. It's laughable. This is the same crowd that cheered on government lockdowns, mask mandates, censorship of conservatives online, and weaponization of federal agencies against political opponents. And they have the nerve to lecture us about democracy. Give me a break. Let's talk about what they're really saying. They're scared of you, the American voter. They know the working class is waking up. They know Hispanics, Black Americans, Asian Americans, and everyday people across this nation are sick of being used as political pawns. Democrats love to pretend they're defenders of minority voices, but when the votes don't go their way, suddenly, they want to silence those voices through gerrymandering. That's projection at its finest. And the best part, they try to paint Republicans as villains for wanting secure districts. Folks, Republicans don't have to rig elections. we win on ideas. We stand for strong borders, energy independence, lower taxes, free speech, and a government that actually puts Americans first. Democrats, on the other hand, rely on manipulation, media propaganda, and changing rules in the middle of the game. That tells you everything you need to know. They can scream about Trump all they want, but let's be real. Trump is the only reason they're panicking. He exposed the swamp. He gave working Americans a voice again. And now, even after they've tried everything, impeachments, indictments, endless witch hunts, they're still scared of him and his movement. That's why they're trying to rig 2026 before a single vote is cast. They want to guarantee themselves 4 strikes while giving conservatives 3. That's not democracy, that's cheating. And let me remind you, California brags about its so-called independent redistricting commission. If it's really that good, why are they trying to override it? Why? Because the commission doesn't serve their power grab in this moment. They love independence when it benefits them, but the second it doesn't, suddenly they need a special election. Suddenly they need new lines. It's hypocrisy at its finest. This is the left's strategy, folks. Scream about authoritarianism while acting like authoritarians. Accuse Republicans of silencing voters while silencing voters themselves. Cry about democracy while undermining it. If you want to see projection in action, just listen to California politicians. But here's the truth. America is not buying it anymore. We've seen their lies. We've lived through their failures. And come 2026, no matter how much they try to rig the system, the people are going to rise up and remind them who this country belongs to, we the people. And let me tell you something else. They may try to use California as a firewall, but California is not America. The rest of this country is awake, fired up, and ready to take back control. The ballot box will speak, and no amount of gerrymandering, no amount of fear-mongering, and no amount of Trump bashing is going to change that. So patriots, don't let this nonsense go unanswered. Share this video, spread the word, and keep standing tall for freedom. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think California's power grab will backfire? Let me know. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share, because Right View Nation is where truth has a voice. Together, we will expose the lies, fight for our country, and keep the American dream alive. God bless you, God bless President Trump, and God bless the United States of America.